Welcome to the Limitless Podcast. The Limitless Podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the Limitless Podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the Limitless Podcast. Limitless Podcast listeners, we're recording a really cool episode with a gentleman that I met earlier in the year, and we met through authorship. Authorship meaning that I published a book. Let me backtrack. I self-published a book, and this gentleman that I met self-published a book, and that's more or less how we met. But before I officially introduce this fellow man of faith in the outdoors and archery hunting and self-publishing authorship, boy, that was a mouthful. I'm going to do a quick rundown on some sponsors. Again, these sponsors are for your benefit only. There are no kickbacks to Limitless Service Group or the Limitless Podcast. These are only for your benefit. So we have Hunting Day Coffee, 10% discount on Hunting Day Coffee on any order. That is Be Limitless 10. Yeah, Phelps Game Calls. That is a 20% discount on a single or a one-time order, not one item, but that order, 20% discount. And that's Be Limitless 20 at Phelps Game Calls. Right now it's turkey season. Might be a good time of year to take advantage of 20% off some Phelps turkey calls. I'm a big fan of their turkey calls. On Point Adventure Foods, 10% off On Point Adventure Foods, any order on their website. Vortex Optics, 25% off any order at eurooptics.com with this Vortex discount code VTXLMTLS25. Vortex does not deal directly with consumers, so they have provided that code at eurooptics.com. I use Eurooptics a lot myself. I'm a big fan. Should be no hassles there. Wilderness Athlete, 20% off any of their Wilderness Athlete products. That's that's Be Limitless 20. And the Love Sauce. In fact, I'm drinking a little bit of Wilderness Athlete right now as we're recording. And then I have the Love Sauce. This is a boutique hot sauce. It's a fellow retired Navy veteran buddy of mine. If you like hot sauce, this is some really, really good stuff. Now, it is hot sauce. This is not a mild piquant that you're going to put on your mac and cheese. This is a spicy, boutique, handmade hot sauce. It's really, really good stuff. And that is 10% off any order, $12 or more. So once again, those sponsorships are not funding the Limitless Podcast. I really like and I use these products, so I sought them out to get these benefits, these discount codes for you as listeners. So let's move on to the content of today's show. If you're on YouTube, you're looking at a bearded face smiling at me at the top of the screen. This is Michael Birky. He's out of the Midwest. He's going to tell you some more specifics on that. And Michael, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you tell everybody where and how we met.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so I am based here in Westfield, Indiana. And here in Indianapolis was, shoot, I'm blanking on the name of it.
The Archery Trade Association show.
Yes. And I was walking the floor and connecting with some buddies, and specifically my buddy D-Rock over at Latitude. We were talking about my book, Full Draw, and he was like, "You need to go over there and talk to Aaron." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You're gonna love Aaron." So, anyways, I walked over there and saw Aaron sitting there eating lunch. I held up my book and he immediately dropped his food, jumped up and said, I have a book too, let's trade. And so from that point on, Aaron and I got connected, and that's where this story began on why I'm sitting here talking to you today.
Great connection. And oddly enough, the book is just one of several things that would have connected us
Yeah.
had we met, shook hands, or potentially through further conversation with D Rock. D Rock is a great dude.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
it's a good mutual friend to have. So tell everybody about your book.
For sure. Yeah. So I started with this book, or the idea for this book, probably 2.5 years ago, maybe. And I'm fascinated with the end times. I could study the end times over and over and over again. And then one day I was just hanging out with my wife, and I was just like, I don't think that I've really done enough to help people get across the finish line here. I'm obsessed with the end times. It's so intriguing to me. I was like, I want to be a part of doing that for hunters and men. One of the bigger verses that I live by has been 1 Corinthians 13, where it talks about um, standing firm in the faith, being strong, things like that. So I wanted to do that for other men, but I'm so ingrained with hunting and the outdoors. I wanted to do something that resonated with that audience. So then I came up with Full Draw, spent probably 6 to 9 months really honing in the draft, and then probably another 3 months or so formatting it, tweaking it, things like that. So it took about a full year for me to get the full book completed. So yeah, the book is comprised of each day of the month. There's a different topic. It's broken down into sections of how your season might go. As we prepare for the season, there's a preseason, there's an early season, there's a mid-season rut, so to speak, and then there's a postseason where you're sharing stories, telling about what happened in your season. So I wanted to break the book up that way, and each day is themed to that section of the book. And yeah, I was really just trying to theme it around that and talk about stories that I've gone through and how that can be applied to faith.
It's a great book.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really, really a good book. You were, you took more time, and I think that you had more patience through your self-publishing process than I did.
It's a beast. When you get towards the end there, it's just like, man, will
Yeah.
this be over? Yeah.
I was about 6 months,
Yeah.
and that was on a delayed publish. I
Sure.
wanted it to be done probably a month sooner. It
Hmm.
was once I actually started writing, banging away at the keys, it was like I didn't want it to end, but I could not get it finished soon enough.
Oh, I was the same way. I was the same way. And you have so much detail in your book. I feel like I kind of kept it at a high level with my stories. I mean, you go into, there was one story, I'm blanking on what it was. I think it was one of the stories in the middle of the book. Maybe a turkey hunt or something. And you're talking about the trim level of the Ford F-150 and how luxury it was. I mean, that's just the level of detail you were going into on your book was great.
Different type of book.
For sure.
Different type of book. How let's talk about the self-publishing process.
Sure.
You went through Amazon.
Yes, and Ingram Spark, which I found out I wasn't crazy about the Ingram Spark route. I feel like their book quality was not as good as Amazon KDP, and I had to adjust my covers to fit the Ingram Spark layout. And overall, I just found like the whole process was a bit more cumbersome going the Ingram Spark route over Amazon. After I've helped a couple people with self-publishing here in the last 6 months or so, and I've just directed them to Amazon KDP. I think that's the route you went as well. It
It
was by
is
far the most easy and user-friendly, I think.
one of the benefits that I found with Amazon. One, it's free.
Yeah,
There's
for
an
sure.
absolute no cost free version of self-publishing your book on Amazon. And
Yeah.
when I say it's free, that means that you're not paying a ghostwriter, you are not paying anybody to do your editing,
Yeah.
you are not paying anybody to provide you with cover art or work on your book formatting.
Yeah.
If you do all of that yourself, you can 100% publish a book and an ebook. And when I say a book, both paperback and hardback on Amazon KDP at no cost to you, which is actually pretty cool. And it has a very high return
Yeah.
on your investment. Now, when I say high return on your investment, certainly not going to get rich writing one book and self-publishing it on Amazon. In fact, actually, at the end of the year, you will likely look at your taxes based on how much you made on your book sales and ask yourself or realize that, yeah, I'm not going to do this for livelihood. I did this for the pure enjoyment and the experience of writing and self-publishing a book, because
Yeah.
you're not going to make a ton of money on it. In fact,
Yeah.
I've given away more books than I've sold.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think for us too, us being the Nowhere team, we took this year as whatever profits we make from my book, we're just donating it all.
Mm.
It's just one of those things where I feel like as a line item, it's a really nice to have, but it's not like you said, it's nothing that is I mean, maybe we could get a vacation out of it for my family, but that's at most, you know what I mean? So, anyways, we just wanted to use that money a bit better. So yeah, I completely agree.
It's a it's a really great and easy process,
Hmm.
especially with the information that's out there on YouTube. And that's what I really enjoyed about the whole experience on my side, was I had no idea how to design a book cover, and I did not realize the formatting that was involved with tailoring your page size and getting your manuscripts into that page format. It's not like writing a paper for a school project where you're using Word and the instructor says, "Hey, this is going to be a 1,500 word paper, excluding your title page and your reference page. So 1,500 words, and according to that format that your school is using, you just you select your font type and font size, and you write a paper, and then you submit it. When you write that book, you have to get into the actual formatting requirements of that whatever service that you're using. So for KDP, you've got to figure out what your page count's going to be.
Yeah.
And so you have to take your manuscript and start breaking that down on, okay, my and it's it was confusing for me. I
Oh,
struggled with it.
what
And
software did you use?
um I used Word.
Oh, really? For your formatting?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I learned InDesign and I typed everything in like a Word doc, but then I copied it all over to InDesign. And InDesign had some automations built in, so once you set it on like a couple pages, you could just then have it sync the whole thing to it.
Really?
Yeah, it was really good in terms of when it came down to needing to make tweaks. But again, that was a whole nother beast to learn. And it's like you don't even know what you don't know. So you're like fumbling around trying to figure it out. And then you watch a YouTube video, like you said. It's like, oh, I could have just done that in 30 seconds had I known that toggle was a toggle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Now,
yeah,
did you have to pay for that InDesign?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a subscription. And you can do it monthly or annual. I think monthly it's only like $30. So you could just do it really quickly and then remove your subscription, I think. But yeah.
I was I was bound and determined to try to do everything on
Do
my
it for
own
free.
and do it as inexpensive or as
Sure.
close to free as possible. It's a, yeah, when when you're into that KDP formatting, it doesn't tell you that if you're in Word and your font is this style and this size, equating to this many pages, that this is how many pages of the book you're going to need.
Yeah.
So it took me several runs of trying to get it into the format so I knew what formatting option in KDP I had to use, because depending upon how many pages of the book you're publishing will determine the size of your cover design.
Hmm.
And it was a circus for a little while trying to get that figured out. Again, thankfully for YouTube, there are a couple of folks out there that they're so open and transparent with the
Yeah.
process, and they really want you to be as successful as they were as a self-publishing author. And that was brilliant. And
Yeah.
then what did you use to design your cover art?
I use Photoshop. I
Okay.
I used to do graphic design out of college and during college as a hobby. And so I've always had that experience with those tools. So that I honestly I think I designed the cover when I was maybe 20% done with the book. I was like, I just need a creative break, and I did something different for the book. I didn't have like the dimensions or anything. It was just a square thing that I was making to try to get the title and everything to fit right. So that's what I used to do that. Um, but yeah, I think referencing the size of the cover in relation to the book, the number of pages in your book, I think the hardest thing was getting the spine to line up on the edges with the back of the book. And that almost brought a man to tears. I mean, that was so hard. Just every run be like, no, if it's got to go 2 more millimeters down, or whatever it was. That was crazy.
I used Canva.
Oh, uh-huh.
I've I've tried Photoshop. It's
Hmm.
way beyond, I don't want to say it's way beyond my capabilities. The amount of time, the learning curve with
Sure.
Canva compared to Photoshop is night and day.
For sure. And it comes down to if you're trying to do it as cheaply as possible, Canva is a great choice.
And I'm a student, so I was able to get a free account, and it unlocked a tremendous amount
Oh,
of
nice.
things for me through a student account. So I
Hmm.
was able to create my book through my student access on Canva.
Oh, that's great.
So that was that again, yeah, that was a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then it's just, put everything together, and I gambled and did not request any pre-publishing copies.
Oh, wow.
I just rolled the dice, man.
Yeah.
I
I,
said,
I
nope.
went I went through three or four
Oh,
right off the
did
bat.
you really?
Yeah. Yeah, and it took, I don't know what, like 3 weeks to get each one. So
Yeah.
that was majority of the last 3 months was just waiting. So
I have gone through my book and I have found errors,
yeah, I have two.
and I have not taken the time to do a second edition.
Yeah, same. Same. My dad, when he went through my book a few days before it was going to release, and he was like, "Hey, you should probably change." I forget what it was. Something in my book references uh, like the ocean or something about the bay off of the coast of Oregon. He was like, "People here don't talk about it that way. They say these words." And I was like, "Yeah, it's too late. Like it's
Yeah.
just it is what it is."
I have found a couple of paragraphs that did not have spacing in between the
Mm,
paragraphs. They're indented, but there's no spacing.
sure.
And I thought I had nailed all of that.
Hmm.
And I just haven't. I probably should, go through and submit a second edition, but I again, I didn't write the book to get rich, and
Sure.
you're not going to get rich writing one book. I did it for the experience, and
Yep.
my dad had a blast. I had three readers that every chapter I would let them know. I gave them access to
Hmm.
my manuscript
Hmm.
online, and I would send them a text message, say, "Hey, chapter 1 is finished, chapter 2 is finished, chapter 4 is finished," all the way through the book. And they were pre-reading all of my chapters, and that was a really good process as well. One of them was a lot more informative than the other two. My dad was great. He just kept he would say, "Hey, you misspelled this, or is that really the word that you want to use?" And I had another reader that was a little more engaging in telling me that last chapter you were a lot more detailed. This chapter you kind of hit some wave tops. I can then it was, "Hey, I really felt like you were in a good rhythm these last two chapters just because of how you were writing and how it flowed." And that was kind of interesting. And I could look back and see where I was at and what I was doing at the time when I was writing. Because I may have been writing at home or on a plane or in a hotel room or at my mother-in-law's, and my environments or things that were going on around me. It was hunting season, and when and where I was preparing to go hunt, or when I'd come back from a hunt, and then Thanksgiving, like all those different outside influences that were impacting my writing time actually impacts what you're putting into your project. And it was interesting for me to have that feedback from him. Um, and that brought all of that to light for me. It was it
Yeah.
was it was a lot of fun and interesting.
Yeah, so similarly, we kind of had parallel stories there, but it went about it a little differently. So I didn't tell anyone I was writing a book.
Mm.
Only my wife knew. And when I got it done, I printed out the however many pages it was. I think in the Word doc it came out to be 90 something pages, I think it was. And my father-in-law was the one who, similarly to your friend, was the one that was just like diving in. He would go to libraries and just sit there with a red pen and just mark it up and was giving me such great feedback. But yeah, I just dropped it in front of him when he came over one day and I was like, "Hey, I need you to read this." And he was just like, "Okay." He was like, "What is it?" Because there's a huge stack.
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's a book I wrote." And he was just like, "You're joking." And I was like, no, that's the last like 9 months I've been writing that. And so, anyways, he dove into it and I gave it to a few other people. And likewise, they gave like good feedback, but and no one gave feedback like he did. I mean, it was just like he shaped a good 20 to 30% of my book in terms of how I was positioning certain themes or topics, or he'd be like, "Hey, you talked this way at the front of the book, and then the end of the book, you're way less story, way more preachy." He goes, "You need to figure out how to get more story in that, or whatever it may be." So he was immensely helpful.
That was a very unique experience.
Hmm.
My dad was all over in my book.
Hmm.
So it was a lot of fun for me to engage with him, and we talked about the book a lot. And my dad was one of the biggest promoters of my book.
Hmm.
And he was familiar with all the stories that are in the book, whether he was with me or not.
Sure.
And we had a lot of fun talking about that. But yes, there was that one individual, and it was all done via Facebook Messenger. All of his input to me was done through Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
Mhm.
How did it feel when you printed off that hard copy manuscript?
Oh, it was crazy. So we had to go buy ink because it ran out of ink halfway through, and I had no clue how I was going to staple it. So then we went and bought like actual like the paper binding things. So that was just like, man, didn't even think of such small things like that to have it a physical copy in your hand. But that was just a lot of fun and a whole part of the process. But yeah, looking at it in print form it was almost I imagine you probably had the same feeling that I did in terms of it was like I could just like breathe for a second and I could just like take a step back kind of almost get it off my plate and into someone else's plate, so to speak, for just a moment. I knew that on the horizon I had to format it and finish up the cover and things like that, but it was like almost like a vacation. You're just grinding for so long, and it was really cool to have that printed off.
So I had mine printed at Staples.
Oh, really?
I had intended on doing it on my own personal printer.
Uh-huh.
And again, my wife is a school teacher. She's brilliant. And her first question was, why are you printing your manuscript? Just have the editor just share the rights and have her get in and just do it electronically.
Oh, sure.
And two things impacted that. So one, my editor is a really close friend of my mother's. They go to church together.
Mm.
And this woman was the lead secretary or head secretary at the high school that I went to.
Mhm.
So that was really cool to have that individual that's been connected in my life.
Sure.
She has a degree in writing,
Hmm.
and she agreed to edit my book at no cost.
Oh, that's great.
And my wife made perfect sense.
Hmm.
Why would you spend the money? Because my manuscript was 360 pages, I think.
Oh, yeah. See, I shrunk my font down.
Did you?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
That's a easily a half a ream of paper
Yeah.
and a whole lot of ink. And my wife was, why would you burn the money on all that paper when you
Hmm.
can just do it on the computer? Just give her access.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, one of the things that was really appealing to me about writing the book when I was at that stage of I knew that I was going to finish a book, all the movies and all the TV shows that you watch about authors, and they always have this paper manuscript, right?
Yep.
I wanted that.
Yep.
Like, yeah, in modern society, my whole manuscript could be on the computer on a file. Honey, you're
Hmm.
100% right. But I really want to have that stack of papers
Yep.
sitting on my desk. And then I did. I asked, her name is Anne. I asked Anne if she would prefer to do everything electronically or if she wanted a hard copy. And she said, I want a hard copy that I can just pen and ink, and then I will return it to you. And I
Yep.
said, I think I love it. That's
Yeah.
really what I wanted in my heart.
Yep.
And so I went and printed that. I had it printed at Staples. So it was really, really affordable. I
Hmm.
didn't have to worry about the quality of the ink. I didn't have to worry about running out of ink.
Sure.
And I went and picked it up, and I obtained an alligator paper, that
Oh,
paper clip,
yeah.
the big
Yep.
paper binder,
Yep.
put it in a manila envelope and insured it and put tracking and signature required on it and popped it in the mail. And
Yep.
she marked it all up and it lined up for me. She's out in Washington State with my parents, and I was headed out there for Christmas vacation. So I arrived, it arrived, gave it to her. She edited it, gave it back to me. And I'm sitting there looking at it with all the pen and ink marks through it and everything. And all three of my pre readers were in that area.
Hmm.
So I had all of them sign my manuscript,
That's so cool.
and it's in my safe. It'll be in the safe when I die.
Yeah. What was your thought when you gave her the manuscript? Were you nervous at all giving it to someone that was outside of these stories, probably didn't know any of the stories, reading it for the first time? Did you have, and not nervous, but any anxiousness tied into that or getting people's feedback?
Really, the only thing I was anxious about was having it lost or damaged. And not
Oh,
that
sure.
Anne would lose it or damage it,
Hmm.
but it was just that feeling of, can I have another one printed?
Hmm.
Yes.
Sure.
That was the original manuscript. And I did not want anything to happen to it.
Yeah.
But I was more nervous when I placed it in the mail to send to the West Coast than I was when I when I handed it to her.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was really, really cool.
Hmm.
And to have everybody be able to sign it, you know,
Yeah.
you can just sit there and look at it and you're thinking, holy smokes, man, I wrote that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm this I'm I have the exact same feelings as you're describing when I went through that process for sure. So,
I was in a hunting camp when we had our the A3G initiative recipient hunt back in January. There was a husband and wife in the same SICA camp with us,
hmm.
and they had a daughter. The daughter was not there, but they had a young child who
Hmm.
was expressing interest in writing a book,
Hmm.
and neither the father or the mother had any idea how to publish a book.
Hmm.
And I was able to provide some input with them and told them you could do it for free on Amazon.
Yeah.
And then they asked, well, what will this young child, how will they write a book? She just knows she wants to write a book.
Hmm.
And I said, have her publish a coloring book. I said, you know, get Canva. There's all kinds of black and white images that you can get off of Canva. Just print them all out, or you know, make digital files of all of them, and then get on Amazon and build a coloring book and have
Yep.
her publish a coloring book on Amazon. She can do her own cover art and everything.
Yep.
It's so simple.
Yep.
Yeah, I think she was 7 years old.
That's awesome. Yeah, and honestly, that's such a great way to learn how to do it is to start like almost like starting small, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like starting with something that is easy to manipulate, doesn't require an editor, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. What a great idea.
Yeah, it's been an incredible experience for sure. It's
Hmm.
some great connections, you know,
Sure.
conversations that you can have with people that you may have never had.
Hmm.
It took me far longer to take the first step in starting to write my book than it did to write it and self-publish it.
Sure. Yep. I agree. Yep.
How long did you stew over the idea of I want to do this, but maybe I don't know how, or I don't know what the topic's going to be, or
Yeah.
can I really do this?
Probably a year and a half.
Okay.
It truly probably was about a year and a half, and then the process was about 12 months or so. Um, yeah, I think maybe even before that, I was like, man, it'd be so cool to write a book, but it was just like one of those like flyer thoughts, that's just you don't pay any attention to it. But like I said, it was really when I just started to just dive into Revelation and studying that, and then I was just like, man, this is just so cool. I need to get other people in on this with me. You know what I mean? Just the natural sharing the word mentality, and for about a year and a half, I stewed on it.
What was the what was the final thing that brought you to the keyboard?
I think for that year and a half, the main thing that was holding me back was I've never done this before. I'm not an author. Like, who am I? Who am I
Mhm.
to write something like this and then try to spread spread God's word through a tool, so to speak? Like, who am I? I'm not a pastor. I'm not a leader within the church, things like that. So, uh, that was bouncing around my head for a really, really long time. And then there was a message, and I'm blanking on who it was that came to our church that um, said this, but they were like, if you want to do something and you ask God for help with it, and it is to honor and glorify Him, further His kingdom, literally, what's stopping you? And I was just like, later that day, I was just like, yeah, I need to do that. So anyways, it was like that happened on, I think, a Sunday afternoon, and then it was that following Monday night I started. So
So that's really interesting. The final piece for me was a sermon at church.
really,
It was. And it's in my book.
hmm. Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, it's crazy how there are things that, like I was going to church for that whole year and a half, but then it was just something that just hit at the right time in that right moment. And I'm sure that trickled down through. I'm sure there were some days where I wouldn't have wrote a story the way I did or thought of the theme for that day. Maybe it would have been a different theme. I'm sure it was all just waterfalling effect into right moment, right time, right circumstances, things like that. That's crazy how that happens.
it is. I I had a couple of different ideas on what I thought I might want to write about,
Hmm.
and I had had a few people tell me that I should write a book.
Hmm.
Different people had different ideas.
Hmm.
Excuse me, and I was really struggling with what avenue or route I wanted to pursue if and when I decided to write a book.
Yeah.
And I had spoke with my wife multiple times about it. My wife was encouraging me to do it. And we were sitting next to each other in church, and the pastor started talking about the hyphen, that the hyphen between the dates on your headstone, that is your entire life
Yeah.
captured on that little tiny line on your headstone. And that's it. That hit me so hard.
Hmm.
And I thought that's, I want to write about my experiences. And then it was, I want to write about experiences in the outdoors, because
Yeah.
for me it was more important than filling the tag. That's why I do it. I do it for the experience.
Yep.
And I started writing that week.
Yep. Yeah. That's crazy, crazy parallels.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
So let's let's reroute a little bit.
Let's do it.
Talk to me about your outdoor passion, your hunting passion. Let's hear about that.
Yeah, so I jokingly my wife and I don't know if it's a joke for her, but we have a now 4-year-old and we have a now 2-year-old. And around the time when our 2-year-old was born. Her name is Madeline. Around the time she was born, my wife was like, "Hey, I really maybe need you to stop hunting so much." She it wasn't telling me not to hunt. She was just saying, "Hey, last season you were gone a ton. It was just me and our oldest Hadley." She goes, "It was fine, but now that we have two, maybe you should scale back a bit." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." But then I wrote the book, and now I have a bunch of other stuff going on that require me to be out in the woods a lot more. So she basically says I created a job out of hunting so that I could do it more. So anyways, I have so much going on right now. Um, the first probably this time a year ago, I was starting to think about how can I start promoting the book, and um, that kind of raveled into like, man, it would be really cool. I see everyone filming their hunts and doing that. And I was like, it'd be cool if I filmed my hunts and promoted the book throughout the hunts. And I said, I don't really see, there are some faith-based hunting series on YouTube, but I was like, I don't really see people doing it in a way that feels organic, where you just weave in Bible verses or whatever throughout the hunt. And so then I was just like, man, I wonder if anyone wants to do this with me. So then through that thought process, we're probably in June or July at this point. The book has been released. I had a few buddies that, again, I hadn't told anyone. I just like released the book outside of the people that, so I wrote it without telling anyone. Then I had the people reviewing it, which I had 3 people review it. Still hadn't told anyone about it. I released the book, had physical copies, and then I released it to everyone on social saying that I wrote a book and things like that. So then my buddies who saw that and then were just talking to me, catching up, I said, I had this idea of filming our hunts. Do you want to be a part of it? And so, anyways, a few of them were like, yeah, yeah, let's do it. So then we bought camera gear and then we filmed all of our hunts this past fall across Ohio, Indiana, and Oklahoma. And uh, before that happened, though, I was like, man, you know what's missing? Every major hunting show or hunting series on YouTube that's successful, they all have a product. And I was like, I think the book is great, but I don't think the book can be that product. And I was like, what can we do that would be cool and different? And so, anyways, I had this idea, and I'm probably like 60 days from being able to say what this idea is. But over the last 10 months, I've been developing something and it will be coming out July. And I will be unveiling it at the Mobile Hunter Expo northeast of Cincy. And
Okay.
anyways, so we had prototypes throughout the fall and the winter of what this is. And yeah, so that's kind of now what Nowhere has morphed into is this business. And it's been great. I've made some huge connections that have been great. People like D-Rock and Corey over at Latitude have been super helpful with giving me advice and kind of helping me along the way with just how to approach certain things. Jake as well at the ATA show was huge and some of his advice. But anyways, through all that, and then my one of my buddies who um, was in our group filming, he actually got an opportunity with Carson Wentz through his AO1 Foundation. So my buddy now leads and guides hunts for Carson Wentz's nonprofit organization, and he's been asking me to lead some kids this fall and this summer on fishing trips and hunting trips for AO1. So that's on the books. So yeah, a lot on the books. A lot has been in progress and in motion. Hunting has truly almost become a full-time job, which is great. I love it.
That's amazing. Good for you.
So yeah, a lot there to unpack or talk about if we wanted to. But yeah, that's my 3 minutes of what I'm doing.
All right. So, what's your favorite way to hunt?
Probably with a bow. In my book, I talk about I had only ever missed one deer with a bow, and that's after hunting 23 years, 22 years with a bow. And that happened the year before I wrote the book. That had happened. And then last year I missed like two or three times. So I've done nothing but miss since I wrote the book. But I love bow hunting. Bow hunting is just so exciting. There was we had access to this property in Oregon that was on top of a mountain, and we didn't have any stands up on that property, didn't have any, I mean, we had a hike up in there, so we weren't bringing climbers or anything like that. We were like, we're just going to sit on the ground. And we were tucked into bushes and we hunted up there for 3 days. And deer were getting 10 yards from us, 15 yards from us. I mean, just bow hunting in general is just so fun. Getting that close to animals and being just that time of year too of every bow season seems to just be, early fall when the leaves are changing or there's just a ton of foliage on the trees. It's just such a beautiful time to be in the woods. Um, so yeah, I think gun hunting as a kid growing up, I always had kerfuffles with gun hunting, whether it be muzzleloader hunting and my powder was wet, so my bullet just kerplunked out of my barrel and didn't do, just random things like that would always happen with guns. I was like, this is so frustrating. I can just pull back a string and let an arrow fly. And I love that. How about you?
Bow hunting is my favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
I I own multiple firearms and muzzle loaders and
Yep.
crossbows. I've harvested animals with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is bow hunting. And I have bow hunted with traditional and modern equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm transitioning back to a lot of traditional this year.
Really?
I will not solely traditional hunt this year, but I am making a commitment that I will carry a bow at least 50% of the time of my bow hunting this year.
That's awesome. So why go the traditional route?
My dad started me on traditional
Mm,
archery.
mm-hmm,
My dad has never owned a compound bow. My dad was a traditional archer when he was younger. So
mm-hmm,
the first bow in my hand was a little yellow fiberglass reflex deflex longbow.
mm-hmm,
And then from there, I transitioned into a bear Kodiak.
mm-hmm.
And I shot a trad bow up until I was 16. At 16, when I I had my own money and a job, and I bought my truck. I drove into the archery shop that my dad used to go to when he was into archery,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought a compound bow. And I used the compound bow for probably the next 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I transitioned back into traditional gear.
Really? Mm-hmm.
And then I went back into compound and then back into traditional. I bought I bought a compound, and at one point I only owned traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And then in December of 2014, I bought a Matthews Helium.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, I was basically all compound.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 years ago, I bought my first longbow. I bought a I bought a um, Great Northern
Oh, huh.
longbow. Never shot it. Traded it for a Tolkien Whisperer,
Mm-hmm.
and I've put a couple of arrows through that Tolkien Whisperer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty bow. It's sitting back here behind me. It's a really pretty bow, but I kept getting sucked back into my compound bows,
Yeah.
and I kept. It's almost like the process of just taking the step to write a book,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept thinking to myself, I want to hunt with a traditional bow again, and I want to do it for myself. But my dad's still alive, and I think my dad would get a real kick out of the fact that I'm walking around in the woods again with the trad bow, because that's all he ever did when he was younger.
For sure.
And so I've had this Tolkien Whisperer, and again, it is a beautiful, beautiful bow.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at one of Chris Ham's events, HHA USA up in Wisconsin, last summer, last July.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a gentleman there that is a Boyer. And his name is Kurt Demerly. He owns Intrepid Archery.
Oh, huh.
And I was in the HHA facility, and I was in their conference room, and there was a longbow laying on the table. And it struck me odd because HHA is a bow sight company,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know that anybody there shot a trad bow. And Kurt had given that longbow to either Chris or to Jake, the marketing guy. I can't remember who he gave the
Mm-hmm.
bow to, but it was a really pretty bow. But I had a longbow, and I chatted with Kurt. He was out on the course. We had a great conversation. I was picking his brain, and I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm trying to take the leap of faith back into trad hunting. I might reach out to you and pick your brain a little bit, because I'm allowing roadblocks to get in the way. I'm self-sabotaging
Sure.
my return to trad hunting."
Mm-hmm.
And he recently redesigned one of his bows. It's the Endeavor, and he redesigned it, and he put old school duck camo on the backing and the belly of this longbow.
Oh, really? I bet that looks really cool.
It's awesome. It's black laminate riser
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
with the old school duck camo on the backing and in the belly of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it has black tips. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really cool looking longbow,
Oh, I'm sure.
and he posted that on Facebook. I'm supposed to be recording a podcast with him in the near future,
Mm-hmm.
and shortly after he and I talked about recording together, he posts 7 bows that he said, "Hey, these are stock bows that I'm putting up for sale." And there's this Endeavor 2 longbow with the old school duck camo on it. I was like, I need that in my life. So he and I jumped on the phone and we talked about it, and it arrives today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it could arrive while you and I are sitting here recording.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I will end up selling this Tolkien Whisperer that I have. Again, it's a beautiful bow, shoots like a dream for
Mm-hmm.
what I've shot out of it. But I've ordered a new quiver for the new longbow, and I have arrow shafts en route so that I can start cutting and tuning and playing around with new arrows and get the right arrow build for
Sure.
this new Endeavor 2 And my endeavor is to spend time with that bow this season.
Where are you going to take it?
Well, I'm kind of anchoring myself here to the Maryland Eastern Shore this year. I'm
Oh,
not planning to hunt out of state this year.
mm-hmm.
I I plan to maximize the resources that are out here. We have a really good whitetail population and we have Sika out
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than burn time and money heading out west and traveling to different states for deer and to go out on an elk hunt,
Yeah.
I'm going to take this year and just focus on the resources here. Stay home with my wife a little bit more, at
Yeah.
least hunting locally here on the Eastern Shore. So I plan on taking both whitetail and Sika with that longbow. And one of the environments that a buddy and I hunt Sika in, it's really unique and it's very dense and thick. So your shooting lanes are very tight and
Mm-hmm.
it's very close quarters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's naturally going to put me in those spots to where I won't be tempted with a longer shot, or I won't be presented with an opportunity of, man, if I had my Hoyt with me right now, I would have smoked that animal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be 25 yards or less in
Mm-hmm.
very thick, very dense, very compressed shooting environment. And it's from the ground where we're hunting. There isn't anything that you can climb, even with a saddle, and effectively shoot and hunt in. So you're on the ground,
Yeah.
either sitting or stalking. So
Yeah.
it's perfect for traditional equipment.
Yeah.
So that's the journey this year, is
That'll
getting
be
back
awesome.
into the trad world. Yeah.
I cannot wait. I know you're gonna get one. I can't wait to see the pictures.
It will be a good time. And I have a little pedestal stool that I'm going to utilize. You get in the right environment and you can just sit in a bush or against a
Oh yeah.
tree, just like you do for turkeys. Just sit on a pedestal and you can just naturally shoot from that position.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, as long as your wind is right, you can sit there all day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the cool part about being on a little pedestal is when the wind shifts, it's not like you have to pull all your stuff out of a tree and
Sure.
move to a different tree. You
Yeah.
pick up your stool and throw it in your backpack and move.
Yep, for sure.
And sometimes that movement might be 50 yards, or maybe it needs to be a quarter mile. You don't know, but you
Yep.
move and then you just sit down again.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's for sure how we hunt in Oregon. You can definitely I told the guys at Latitude I was gonna saddle hunt out there and get up in a fir tree, but I mean Oregon, it's so thick. The
Mhm.
brush is just so dense. I mean, it's just you're almost just confined to the ground. And then if you do get above the brush, you're so exposed because the fir trees are so tall that there's just no cover around those trunks. So yeah, we primarily hunt on the ground out there too.
The one thing to remember in that environment, though, those animals are not accustomed to an elevated threat.
Mm, hmm.
So keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I love to backcountry saddle hunt.
Hmm.
The deer are not accustomed to that elevated threat.
Hmm.
I'm sure in Indiana, if you're in lodge pole or telephone pole stands of timber, they're tough to hunt because the deer are so accustomed to that elevated threat.
Yeah, for
Out
sure.
here in southern Maryland and the Eastern Shore, it's almost like they walk through the timber looking up before they look on the ground for threats.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're so attuned to hunters being elevated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Out
Yeah.
in Oregon, they're not used to that. So I would still explore the idea of, take a really lightweight saddle system with you.
Mhm.
And if you find the right spot, climb a tree.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we were talking about doing. Um, and I keep bringing up Latitude. I was specifically talking to them. They don't know of anyone that's gotten a deer out there in one of their saddles. So I have the method three. I'm determined to be the first guy known to get a deer out of a method saddle out in Oregon. So yeah, we'll see.
Are you hunting the west side of Oregon?
No, so the east side of the valley, southeast of Salem. My dad is a hazelnut farmer, so he and his uncle, both farmers, they have a bunch of land, but they live about a half mile from the foothills on the east side there. So we run up into the foothills.
Okay.
We hunt their properties too, but a lot of their property in the valley is just a lot of drainages and small, I say small, we're like 20, 40 acre thickets of woods, maybe, and in odd shapes that follow creeks. So you definitely can have them running through. My dad has elk that runs through on his property. Um, Pretty consistently throughout the summer and early fall, but um, I don't know. There's just something special about going up into the foothills, um, and in the mountains of Oregon. It's just so beautiful out there. So,
It is. Yeah, I'm very familiar. I
yeah.
grew up in Washington State, so I'm
Yep.
very familiar with Oregon. In fact, my family, they just spent this last week turkey hunting over by Reedsport.
Your dad got a turkey.
Yeah. My
That's
dad, my
awesome.
nephew, and my sister's boyfriend. Yeah, they all
Yeah.
three did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I really want to turkey hunt out there. My dad has a flock of about 25, 30 turkeys consistently every year on his property, and he won't let me hunt them. They're
Really?
they're his pets. He
Oh
feeds
my
them, he
goodness.
feeds them, and anyway, he's good with everything else. He and his wife just like the turkeys.
Okay.
So, and I haven't gone out there to go hunt turkeys at any other point, but. But yeah, it'd be a
Turkey
lot of
hunting,
fun.
turkey hunting is becoming my favorite thing to do.
Oh yeah, it's so in the people in the turkey world so different from deer hunters. They take it so seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's deer hunters that take deer hunting seriously, but the turkey guys are different. They're different for sure.
It's a cool community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it is, I love elk hunting. It's become so expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And if I live in Maryland, so I will probably never in my lifetime hunt as a resident for elk ever again.
Hmm.
So the cost of it, the availability of tags, how much time it takes to get out west and back,
Hmm.
can't really scout
Yeah.
because that would be a whole nother, 2 to 3 weeks out of the year that I would be gone trying to scout.
Yep.
Scouting for elk in April or May doesn't really apply to hunting elk in September because
Sure.
they probably going to be in a completely different area.
Hmm.
And I'm at the point of, I mean, yeah, elk meat's amazing and you get a lot of it when you harvest, and not everything is about the tag, but when you're investing thousands of dollars into one hunt, you
Yeah.
really want to, you really want to be successful with that.
Yeah, and time away from family and just
Yes.
everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And with turkey hunting, and there's two camps on this. I'm obviously in one camp, but for me, spring turkey hunting, when you're not on a field edge, when you're in the timber, if you get
Hmm.
up in the mountains on mountain birds, and if you do it off off trail backpack style where you're actually packing in and living off of your back, it's it's nearly the same as elk hunting.
Oh, for sure.
Realistically, you're not spending as much money, it
Yeah.
doesn't take as much time,
Hmm.
and you're not obtaining as much meat.
Easier to
Every,
pack out.
everything else is the same,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
and it's so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. It is a blast.
And the other piece of it is elk are becoming call shy.
Hmm.
Predators, the hunting pressure, the amount of people that are out calling,
Yeah,
they're not as vocal as they used to be in September. And that's one of the big allures of it, is going out and calling and having that connection.
yeah, for sure.
And turkeys, when you get up on mountain birds that aren't heavily pressured like lowland flats and where most of the hunters are going, the turkeys are so vocal, they're so interactive, so
Hmm.
much fun.
Yeah,
And
and they're gobbling all day,
all
whether
day.
whether you're interacting with them or not.
Yep.
That's so awesome. And I agree. I've only ever elk hunted in Oregon, and the last time we went, we did not get one response to anything that we did. And talking to people that live out there, they were saying, yeah, they're just too pressured.
Yeah.
They get called out too much and they just know. So it's tough.
I did a recent podcast with Jason Phelps,
Hmm.
and he and I both agree on this as well, that it's a different interaction with the people that you're with when you're
Hmm.
turkey hunting too. You know, when you deer hunt, you're alone.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to go on private property in a blind, or like a box blind, something like that, where you're sitting together and you can whisper back and forth.
Mhm.
But if you're spot and stock, or if you're in a climber or a lock on or a tree saddle, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And depending upon the time of the hunt, you might be gone from dark to dark.
Yep.
So whether you're alone, or you're with a buddy or a group of men or women, or with the kids,
Mhm.
you might, when you leave camp in the morning in the dark, you may not come back until that evening in the dark. And you're tired and you're planning for the next day. Your interaction time is very limited.
Yeah, for sure.
With elk hunting, yeah, you can be with one or two other guys all day long, but there's a different pressure for
Mhm.
me mentally. There's a different pressure of, you have to go full tilt nonstop all day long. It's really, really serious. And you expect everybody to have the same level of commitment in the game to
Yeah.
go try to achieve, be a part of that quote unquote 10% of success that annually takes place in elk hunting.
Hmm.
And not that turkey hunting isn't challenging, because it's incredibly challenging. But when you're turkey hunting, there's a number of states that, at least the early season, you can only hunt till noon.
Yeah.
So no matter how deep you are in the wilderness, where you're at hunting, at noon the hunting stops. So
Yeah.
now you have the rest of the day to interact with the people that you're with,
Hmm.
laughing, having fun, enjoying camp, maybe doing some scouting, shed hunting. And then if you choose to go roost birds, then you get up in the morning and you go do it again. But there's still a different level of intensity when you're with other people turkey hunting. It is so much fun. It's just a different atmosphere wherever you're at.
Yeah.
And but you're still calling, you're still connecting with that bird, you're still reading the terrain features and your cover and your concealment, and you get in a setup, and then whether it's a win or a loss on that setup, you regroup, typically laughing about something, and then you go do it again.
Yep.
And then even when it transitions to a dark to dark turkey hunt, still all day long, it's just such a different, it's a different atmosphere
Yeah.
mentally and spiritually when you're chasing turkeys. It's so much fun. And you get, most states you can get two tags. In Washington
Yep.
State, they're still giving out three tags in
Oh,
Washington State.
really?
I shouldn't say they give them out. You
Yeah,
can
yeah, for sure.
purchase
You
and
can get.
fill three tags
Yep.
in Washington State.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Here in Indiana, they only do one.
One,
Yeah. So you get your one bird and that's it. But
it's such a different ball game.
yeah, I agree. And two, there's an element when you layer in gobbling with a turkey, calling a turkey, hearing them sound off 100, 200 yards away, and you're with your buddy sneaking up, and yeah, it's different for sure.
It is. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time. We're gonna have to do this again. Let's wrap this episode up,
Mhm.
and then let's get another calendar date on the books, and we'll talk about Nowhere Outdoors, and we're gonna dive into faith,
Cool.
and really get into that, and what Nowhere Outdoors is about, and we'll cover some different topics. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, would love that. Yeah, and I know I was being a bit cryptic. Would love to talk about some of the stuff that we're making.
Okay.
It's really really cool. I think you're gonna love it. I'll send you one once we get it done.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, for
All right.
sure.
Is there anything that you want to share before I close this out?
Uh, nope. No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, folks, give this a like and a share. Leave us a review on whatever platform you're watching or listening to the Limitless podcast on. And as always, be limitless.